Welcome back to the Guilty Parent Club series. I'm Dr. Jo Muller. I'm so glad you're here and ready to hear about the final child key, the child physical support key. So in the last episode, we heard about how the playfulness and power keys can provide us with a range of strategies that help to keep our children's brains calmer and more receptive to following the boundaries that we're trying to teach them, as well as setting them up well to learn skills for the future. Having these keys alongside the predictability key, the perspective key, and the imperfection keys that we already heard about can help us as parents just to feel so much more confident and less self-doubtful. When we feel sure that how we're responding to our child is evidence-based, and we know that we can try a variety of things for different situations, we're much more likely to stay regulated and parent how we want to, even in really tricky situations. When we've been able to use those parent keys to help meet our needs as parents and stay more emotionally regulated, we're much more able to actually put these child keys into practice too. And in this podcast, we're going to hear about what the child physical support key adds to this toolkit. In my experience, physical support is often the area where parents feel least confident. The core of it is this. Physical support is all about making sure our children succeed as often as possible when it comes to boundaries we're setting. It's the way that we help them follow through, particularly when words and the other strategies haven't done the trick. We can think of it as both the groundwork and the cherry on the top. Well, why does this matter? Every time our child manages to meet a boundary with our support, they're learning what to do, not just what not to do. And the more they succeed, the better they feel, the calmer we are, and suddenly we're all in a much nicer, virtuous cycle. Not the stressed, reactive, guilty cycle that we all know too well. The child physical support key covers three main areas: helping to teach new skills and build independence, ensuring safety with calm firmness, and setting up our home and our routine so that our child is less likely to fail in the first place. These might mean things like actually helping them to put their shoes on rather than repeating ourselves to the point of losing it. It might mean physically guiding them when there's a dangerous situation. It might mean something really practical like popping a lock on a cupboard that's just too tempting for them. We touch on strategies like scaffolding, which is where, as parents, we provide just enough help for our child to succeed before gradually stepping back, and we revisit backward chaining as a way to break down tricky tasks. We also talk about how physical support can be helpful when children are having meltdowns or tantrums, as well as other strategies that we can use at those moments. Crucially, we look back at how to set realistic expectations of our child based on their brain development, just as we covered in the child imperfection key. Because so many of the tasks and the boundaries that we're expecting of them day to day rely on executive functioning skills that just aren't fully online yet for our children, especially if our child is neurodivergent or perhaps is just having a particularly challenging day. And this key isn't about doing everything for our child forever. It's about giving as much support as they genuinely need in the moment, even if that level of support changes day to day. In short, physical support helps our children feel secure and successful in the moment, which helps them learn better over the longer term, and it helps us to stay calmer too. Well, that's all of the 6 child P keys. We've gone through each of the 6 keys in detail. All of them are about creating an environment where your children and you are on the same side, boundaries make sense, you feel more confident, and guilt and reactivity doesn't have to rule your parenting. All within a sense of accepting and embracing imperfection, shedding all that pressure, and just being your authentic self as a parent. Don't forget, you can download the workbook that goes along with this Guilty Parent Club series completely free. Just follow the link in the show notes. You'll find a wealth of information in there and a recap of everything we talk about in these podcasts. Let's take a little recap of the child keys. First up, the imperfection key. It's about managing our expectations based on our child's brain development and accepting that imperfection isn't just human, it's actually essential. Then we have the perspective key. This is really foundational, and it's all about getting curious about what's going on for our child, what's driving their behaviour, what emotions are going on, and letting them know that we can see their point of view. It's about really connecting with our child before we even try to do anything else. The predictability key is about making life a lot more certain. We're using clear language and visual tools to make everyday routines more predictable and less stressful, keeping our child's brain online. The playfulness key is all about harnessing our child's playful nature and willingness to learn through play. We can use the playfulness key both in tricky moments and at calmer times in order to build our connection with our child and up the ratio of positive to negative interactions. The power key is about topping up our child's power cup, building their sense of control and independence, both in the moment and routinely, helping them be more on our side, more on our team. And the physical support key that we just heard about is around taking practical action to make sure our child can succeed with the boundaries we're setting in order to create a virtuous cycle. Remember, these keys are about creating an environment where your child's brain feels safe and regulated. That way, their emotions and their behaviour are steadier, they're more able to hear and respond to the boundaries that we're setting, that we're teaching, and they start to build those neural pathways and skills for the future. It also means that we're likely to feel more connected to our child, and that creates that virtuous cycle too. These strategies grow with you and your child. You can tailor how they're applied depending on their developmental stage, their personality, and their age. What's brilliant about these strategies is they don't just help your child, they help you to stay more regulated and confident as a parent too. They give you a flexible toolkit to dip in and out of, adapting to your child's unique needs and your own parenting style. And of course, how can we forget the parent keys that we heard earlier in the series? Each of the 6 P keys for parents works really hard to tackle the multiple causes of your stress, self-doubt, and guilt as a parent, in order to help you feel more regulated and actually able to think about and use the strategies that we've just heard about in the child P keys. So you can see how the parent keys and the child keys really lock together and work together to create a much calmer and more confident environment at home. Well, we've covered an awful lot together, so if you want a refresher, don't forget the workbook that you can access via the show notes. I'd like to invite you now to have a think about which strategies, which ideas, which of the 6 P keys have really resonated with you. What has felt most helpful? Are there particular keys you'd like to revisit to have a think about how they might apply for you and for your family? What would you like to know more about? And if you want to go deeper into the keys, if you want to learn each of the practical strategies that we cover, you absolutely can, and that's what the Guilty Parent Club is for. I would love you to join us in the Guilty Parent Club. It enables you to access a much deeper dive into all the strategies that we've touched upon in this series and really make a sustainable change for you as a parent and for your children and your family. Being part of our club gives you lifetime access to the 70 plus podcasts that make up each of the 6 keys, the 6 for children and the 6 for parents. And there's a fillable workbook for each key to help you really work through each step. You will be part of our exclusive online members community because I know one of the most important parts of the club is when parents hear others who are experiencing similar things and finally know that they're not the only ones. This starts to melt away the shame before we've even started talking about the content. I host live group coaching for club members, which takes you step by step through the keys, and we can tailor them just to you. This helps to avoid overwhelm and really boosts their power and their effectiveness, all while connecting you to other parents. Or you can join the self-guided version if you prefer to access the podcast and the workbooks at your own pace. But either way, our club is a warm, welcoming sanctuary for parents who are sick of pressure, sick of confusing messages, and sick of feeling out of your depth when you're parenting. You'll find us here with sensible, practical, science-based techniques that can help us embrace imperfection as parents and truly connect with our child in an authentic way. I'd love you to join me in the next podcast where we'll hear some testimonials from Guilty Parent Club members who've finished our course and want to share the journey they've been on and the transformation they've experienced. And then I'm really excited to share with you that you're going to find some bonus podcasts. I'm making the club Child Welcome Keys available to you completely free. This is where we learn in depth about the different types of boundaries, what the evidence base says about different parenting approaches, and why we don't typically recommend punishments. Give these podcasts a listen and get a flavour of how our club starts off, all completely free. Thank you again so much for joining me. I hope you've heard some really useful nuggets in this podcast series. There's space at the back of your workbook to reflect on what you'd like to take away from what you've heard in this series, what you think you might be able to put into place right now, and what you'd perhaps like a deeper dive on. Remember, you are not alone, parents. You're doing a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see you in the Guilty Parent Club. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If this episode resonated for you, I would love you to join us in the Guilty Parent Club. As a member of the club, you'll gain access to exclusive private podcasts and workbooks providing deeper dives into these topics, taking you step by step through the 6P key framework, and they're packed with practical tools that you can apply straight away. For more details, head over to drjoethepsychologist.com/Guilty Parent Club. See you there.